Spain 2026, the quiet machine. One shot. That's all Argentina managed in the first 115 minutes of a World Cup final. One shot. From a team that had Lionel Messi, that had won 3 of the last 4 major tournaments on the planet. That was 90 minutes from immortality. And the team that did that to them didn't have a single household name superstar carrying it. No one player Spain could not survive losing. Just 11 players who pressed as one organism. A manager who had not lost a competitive match in almost 2 years, and a defense that let in exactly 1 goal in the entire tournament. Fewer than the Spain team that won it all back in 2010. This is the story of how Spain won the 2026 World Cup, not by being the most talented team in the building, but by being the hardest team in the building to play against. 5 acts. From a scoreless draw in Atlanta to a trophy lift in New Jersey. Let's get into it. Before the tournament even started, the story of this Spain team had already been written in qualifying. Unbeaten. 6-0 away to Turkey. 4-0, twice, against Bulgaria and Georgia. A team that scored for a 29th consecutive World Cup qualifier. The only blemish, fittingly, came against Turkey again, a 2-2 draw in the final qualifier that did nothing to change the outcome. Spain topped their group anyway. By the time Luis de la Fuente named his 26 for the tournament, this wasn't a team searching for an identity. It was a team that already had won, built over 3 years without a single competitive defeat. Group H opened almost anticlimactically. A 0-0 draw with Cabo Verde in Atlanta. A reminder that even control-obsessed teams can be stopped by a compact, disciplined underdog with nothing to lose. Spain answered the only way they know how, not with panic, but with patience. A 4-0 demolition of Saudi Arabia followed. Then a 1-0 win over Uruguay in Guadalajara sealed top spot in the group. Nobody was talking about Spain yet. Argentina had Messi. France had Mbappé. Spain had a midfield led by the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, a backline nobody could break down, and a manager quietly building the most disciplined, unbeaten run in the sport. That was about to become the story of the entire tournament. Here's a stat that will surprise you. Heading into this tournament, Spain had not won a single knockout match at a World Cup since the day they lifted the trophy in 2010. An entire cycle, 2014, 2018, 2022. Spain kept arriving at World Cups as one of the most technically gifted teams in the world and kept going home the moment the football stopped being forgiving. Los Angeles Stadium, July 2nd. Round of 32. Austria. Mikel Oyarzabal opened the scoring in the 36th minute. Pedro Porro, a right back, not a striker, added a second in the 66th. Oyarzabal came back for a second in the 89th to put it beyond doubt. Final score, 3-0. Spain outshot Austria 23 attempts to 5 and controlled 59% of the ball. But the number that mattered wasn't on the scoreboard. It was the calendar. 16 years. That's how long the ghost of early World Cup exits had followed this team around, and it died in Los Angeles in the space of 90 minutes. Whatever happened next, Spain had already answered the only question that mattered walking into the knockout rounds. Could they still do this when the stakes stopped forgiving mistakes? The answer, finally, was yes. This is where the story stops being about brilliance and starts being about will. Dallas, July 6th. Portugal, led by a 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo playing what was almost certainly his final World Cup match. For 90 minutes, nothing gave. Oyarzabal spurned Spain's best chance of normal time. Nuno Mendes rattled the Portuguese crossbar at the other end. The game was heavy, cagey, the kind of match that punishes the team that blinks first. Spain didn't blink. They waited. And in stoppage time, 2 substitutes combined. Ferran Torres slipping the ball through for Mikel Merino, who buried it low and hard to send Portugal home and Spain into the quarterfinals. 1-0. A game won not in the first minute or the 70th, but in the last one that mattered. For days later, Los Angeles again. Belgium. And this one had a twist. Fabian Ruiz, not Pedri, started in midfield, and it was Ruiz who broke the deadlock, pouncing on a loose ball after Thibaut Courtois had somehow kept out Dani Olmo. Belgium hit straight back through Charles de Ketelaere, sneaking onside to head home a Kevin De Bruyne assist. 1 apiece, and suddenly a knockout game that had looked settled was very much alive again. Enter the substitutes, again. Mikel Merino, on for the second knockout match running, struck in the 88th minute to snatch it, 2-1, Spain into the semifinals. Two knockout winners, in a row, delivered by players who started the match on the bench. That's not luck. That's a squad deep enough that De La Fuente could throw fresh legs at tired defenses and trust whoever came on to deliver. If the first three knockout rounds were about grinding out results, Dallas on July 14th was about something else entirely. Spain simply being better than one of the most talented squads left in the tournament. France came in with Mbappé, with everything that made them 2018 and 2022 finalists. And Spain didn't just beat them, they suffocated them. Goals from Mikel Oyarzabal and Pedro Porro either side of a match where France barely threatened. Flawless defending at one end, ruthless finishing at the other. 2-0, and it genuinely could have been more. This was the loudest possible answer to anyone still wondering whether Spain's run was earned or lucky. You don't shut out France in a World Cup semi-final by accident. Spain was into their first final since 2010, and they'd conceded a total of 1 goal across 6 matches to get there. New Jersey, July 19th. Everything that had been building for 6 weeks came down to one match, against the defending Copa America and 2022 World Cup champions, led by a 39-year-old Lionel Messi, playing what he had already said would be his final World Cup. For long stretches, this was one-way traffic. Spain dominated possession and territory from the opening whistle. Rodri controlled the tempo from midfield. Mikel Oyarzabal kept probing up front. And yet, Emiliano Martinez, Argentina's goalkeeper, kept the door shut, eventually breaking the World Cup final record with 11 saves. Argentina, for all their talent, didn't manage a single shot of any kind until the 115th minute. A record of futility in a World Cup final. 90 minutes ended scoreless. Then, deep into stoppage time, Argentina's night unraveled further. A reckless late challenge on Pau Cubarsí earned a second yellow card and a red, leaving Argentina down to 10 men heading into extra time. 39 seconds into the second period of extra time, the moment finally arrived. Ferran Torres, the super sub who'd been waiting all tournament for his chance, thumped home an 8-yard finish. 1-0. And this time, exhausted and a man short, Argentina had nothing left to answer with. The final whistle confirmed it. Spain, champions of the world for the second time in their history. 16 years after Andres Iniesta's extra-time winner against the Netherlands, another Spanish substitute had delivered another extra-time World Cup-winning goal. Rodri lifted the trophy as captain. Luis de la Fuente, still unbeaten as national team manager since taking charge, became the oldest coach ever to win a World Cup, adding it to a Nations League and a European Championship he'd already won with this same core group. And the numbers, at the final whistle, told the real story of this Spain team. 1 goal conceded across the entire tournament, better than the 2010 champions managed. 14 wins and a draw under De La Fuente, and not a single defeat. A World Cup won not by outscoring everyone, but by simply refusing, match after match, to be broken. So here's the question worth sitting with. Was this Spain team actually more dominant than the 2010 vintage that gave the country its first World Cup? The Iniesta, Xavi, Casillas generation everyone still talks about? This team conceded fewer goals, won a bigger cycle of trophies together, and did it without one single global superstar carrying the weight. Drop your answer in the comments, and tell me which Spanish player from this run deserves to be remembered alongside the legends of 2010. Rodri, Oyarzabal? A super sub like Marino or Torres, who kept showing up when it mattered most. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe. There's a lot more of this run still worth telling.